Warm greetings, everyone. Welcome to today's session of Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. This session is conducted with the support of Water Resources Council of the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and in collaboration with W4W Foundation. My name is Dr Bhargav and I am currently the National President of the Water Resource Council, and in that process we are also actually trying to form the council much stronger with inviting people to talk about what it is to be a woman in water. I'm also the founder director of W4W Foundation. We are glad to do this conversation. We call it Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water, which we co-equally refer as Blue Lips, as you may have seen in the flyer. So it's basically Blue stands for us. The conversation is aimed to share the worries and the wisdom by the woman, for the woman, of the woman in the water sector. And in here, we hope to learn about the water endeavors of the woman in a regular disciplined manner like a masterclass. In today's session, we are here to listen and learn more about Dr. Jenia Mukherjee, and a good friend also. Before I invite her to this session, I would also like to thank her for giving us time. I have been stalking her or fishing her for nearly more than a year to have this conversation with her. Thank you so much, Jenia, for accepting this invitation, and welcome to Monday Munching and Musing session. And now, before I get you on board into the conversation, as a protocol, a very brief biography of yours, because I know people like you, I will not really do justice with a full biography, but just for the sake of having a brief introduction. Dr. Jenia Mukherjee is a transdisciplinary researcher investigating several large-scale global partnership projects on coastal and delta communities of South and Southeast Asia, Africa, and Europe. She is an associate professor at the Department of Humanities and Social Science at the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Kharagpur. She's also author of Blue Infrastructures, demonstrating Kolkata's canals and wetland systems through the historical urban political ecology perspective. She receives prestigious fellowships and awards such as the Carson Writing Fellowship, Australian Leadership Award Fellowship, DART Fellowship, Japan India Transformative Technology Award, and many more, as I mentioned. Specifically for her work on urban deltas and coasts, Jenia is one of the 9 scientific coordinators of the Global Center of Spatial Methods for Urban Sustainability at TU Berlin, and the Indian representative at the 5-member advisory board of Asian Association for Environmental History. Needless to say, but she has published in many journals and been reviewer and not only coordinating, conducting, doing education, research supervision, and many more things. In here today, we are of course going to learn more about Jenia's professional endeavor, but more importantly, today's session is focusing on, as I mentioned in the beginning, what it is to be a woman in the water sector. So all set, Jenia?
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me take you some years back. I don't know how many years back, but we would like to know, when was it that Jenia realized that you belong here? I mean, you belong in the water sector, and it is going to be your life from here onwards. Soaking, sinking, floating, whatever you would like to call it, drowning, all together. Over to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mansi, so much for for the introduction and for inviting me, and for of course, we had a lot of discussions about a specific slot, and you are extremely accommodative, and my heartfelt gratitude to you for this. So I think this it was not planned at all. I never planned. I never planned my career in the academic sector. So it was, I remember, I think this is 2002 or 2003, when I was in my second year, a graduating student from Jadavpur, and I was studying history honors. And that time, our university was organizing, our Department of History, Jadavpur University, was organizing an interdisciplinary seminar on water issues. And my supervisor, who later became my formal supervisor, he was back then at the department. And then he was young, he was also very enthusiastic, and he asked some of the volunteers to also, present papers in that seminar. So he wanted a students panel in the seminar, and I had no clue on which topic I was going to present. But then I started thinking that am I really interested on this topic, and if I have to speak for 10-15 minutes, what is that particular topic which really excites me? So then immediately I closed my eyes and I could see the canals of Kolkata. So, and when I say canals, that particular stretch, which later I came to know, I knew that it was Adi Ganga, Talis Canal stretch, and this is the stretch that I'm talking about. If you take a bus ride, or if you walk from Jadavpur to National Library, which is in Alipur. So this is southern part of Kolkata. That stretch is there. So you see every time I used to go to National Library on a bike from Jadavpur, I met that water stretch, but it was very very murky, polluted, stinky, and but then there were a lot of interesting things. So for example, you will see how there were boats, abandoned boats, which were there on the muddy bank of that murky water stretch. So I had a number of questions that it shows that this today what seems like a drainage canal, maybe it had some history. So I was very interested and keen to know about the history of canal system of Kolkata. And unfortunately, what happened when I tried to find books on this, I couldn't find any. Only there was one Bengali book. It is called Kolikata Darpon by Radharaman Mitro. In that book, so it was an overall book on Kolkata, a very nice book, but there was only one chapter, a very small chapter, 10-12 pages, and there was this was the chapter on Kolkata's Khal. Khal means canal in Bengal. So I couldn't find that time I didn't manage to find any historical information on the canals. So I ended up giving a presentation just for 10-15 minutes, where I showed some photographs, because that time we didn't have smartphones. So the photographs from camera, the real photography. And then I presented a paper where I showed the pictures of those of that canal and some other canals as well from southern part of Kolkata, and just initiated this topic. And I don't know why it was very much appreciated, by the people who were there. And they were also, today I remember, there were people like Johor Sarkar and many others. Maybe they were appreciating all of us because we were young students back then. So this is how it all began. And then again I forgot about the whole thing, and it is only after few years after that, that again the opportunity emerged. So every time there were opportunities, somehow I went back to the story of Kolkata's canal. So then after a period of like almost, how do I say, 7-8 years, it was getting fixed that if I really if I have to do my PhD, then the topic would be none other than the canal system of Kolkata.
Wonderful. I'll just take a short logistic break here. To just safeguard the session, I will request all the participants to open their video just for 1 or 2 seconds. Because if you are not writing your full name, we just want to avoid any bot or any problem in the session. AN, would you please mention your full name? There is someone called AN. Request everyone to write their full name. It is just for all of us to remain digitally safe. We have had some past attacks of abusive things. I'm sorry, Jenia, but I had to do this because now we have enough participants to announce this thing. Thank you so much, all of you, for understanding. Please mention your full name, and just for a second for me to double check that there are all humans and we don't have any AIs and robots listening to us. We would love to make them notes for us, but yes. Thank you so much. We will continue. So just as I understand from you, actually water came over you all over, and it's all over you now. From doing coastal to Sundarban to canals to young people to water stories to water science and everything. And I know you have some wonderful students also. I met few of them who have been part of our sessions. You have been part of our sessions and water festival. And then it really makes it very interesting for me to understand from you what it is now after so many years, because this is more of a reflective session as we do, what it is to be in water sector and what kind of tasks or activities that gives you motivation, what kind of tasks that are very challenging you think, not only for you as Jenia, but being woman in the sector. We are slowly going to get into the being woman. What it is, what shakes you, moves you, and what keeps you afloat.
Yes, I think like it's a, I mean, I can visualize my answer, but how I'm going to frame and sequence, the responses together and make it a composite whole, I'm trying to think about it. But yes, if you ask me to give a one-word answer for, I mean, where is the risk and what is the opportunity? My response immediately to this would be, like water society relationships, because
Mm-hmm.
this I have also faced in Kharagpur. So when I joined Kharagpur in 2016, because before that I was working at the Institute of Development Studies, Kolkata, and like when I joined here in 2016, like all the faculty members who who join the department, they're asked to float their own courses. So I wanted to float my own course on, I mean, there were some options. So one was environmental humanities, but then the other one was also what I tried to, kind of perceive as beyond H2O. So that was the title of the course, which is like beyond H2O.
Oh.
Yes, but then unfortunately, and I'll be quite frank, that's fine. It will be in YouTube, but that's okay. So I think like when I, and Amrita is also here, so Amrita also knows this experience, because all our courses, they are passed through the Senate. So there are people, there are natural scientists, there are engineers who are senior people, who are also, who are part of the institute admin. So there is a review process, and then the courses go through the reviews, you receive comments, and then you can either, your course gets rejected, you have to again submit, or you can modify them a bit. So there's a lot of hue and cry about this particular title itself, that what is beyond H2, because water is H2. How can water be beyond H2? So nobody was really, I mean, at all, how do I say, nobody was ready to accept this idea of beyond H2O as water. So then we had, like long chain of arguments and debates, and bad debates actually, where like they were almost satirically, they were presenting their comments, saying that how can water be beyond H2? So, and then like I think, my take on water is that from then, like from 2016-17 to now, it's almost more than 9 years, so it's my 10th year at IIT Kharagpur. Now I think people understand what is beyond H2, what is there in that beyond, and people understand that it is in that beyond that everything is there. So because when we talk about H2O, it is a very reductionist understanding of a combination of two molecules of H2 and one molecule of oxygen. But it is much beyond that, the intangibilities, the materiality, but the immaterialities, and so many different like different kinds of cultures, and the ethnic communities, their lives and livelihoods around water. They are, like for example, that even the everyday lived realities in the deltas, so in the coast, on the banks of canal system. So it is so very plural, complex, and diverse. So I think it is in this beyond, that complexity, scale, dynamics, and uncertainties are enmeshed. So my journey has been, I would not say as smooth as flowing water. The current has been like for flowing water, but the trajectory has been extremely muddy. But it is in this muddiness, it is in this messiness, that I think all of us together got a lot of opportunities to discuss, learn from, explore, mobilize, disseminate, and communicate water. And as you mentioned, my students,
Absolutely.
my students, and we are a research group, we are a research team, we all of us work closely together, so it's a collective endeavor, and all of us keep learning from each other. And water binds us, because it is not, someone coming from English is doing her PhD with me, and I am not, I am not a faculty from English. So this is another challenge that I also face. So people have to understand that, it's water, it's environmental humanities, but more, water, because I work in the water domain. So it is not to reduce the whole thing. This is English, this is psychology, this is anthropology, it does not work. So this is another challenge that I face. But again, water has been the binding theme that kind of, like bind all of us together.
Wonderful. You remind me and echo me what I was teaching before lunch today, water, by the way, water and culture. And I mean, I completely so agree with you that everything is actually beyond H2.
Yeah.
Everything in that little O and 2 and H, all of us come together in there. And also, very importantly, as you rightly mentioned, it's the domain and it is not really bounded by a discipline. That also takes a lot of time, even for us to unpack, unlearn, and relearn this very fact when we are into it. In this process, I'm sure you made a lot of friends and foes professionally,
Yes.
personally. You must have had a lot of challenges working in the water sector, but also a lot of accolades, as we can read your accolades, unlimited there, but also thinking differently. But there is something also additional to water and women. So when we talk about water and women, often there is this impression, and which is also true, by the way, that majority of the women are busy fetching water for the family, fetching water for themselves, sanitation issues, this and that. But let us keep that aside and, of course, respect it and be concerned about it. Here we want to talk about professional women who, to some extent, has overcome that very idea to go and fetch water, which is still more than 50% women doing it. But still, life of women in the water sector is not a rosy picture professionally. Neither as just a woman, it is a rosy picture personally, because you have to manage house, you have to manage profession, and it is just very few people who have the, I will say, privilege or really lucky, who can manage, or who have accidentally managed to converge their profession and passion as together and flowing. For
Yes.
example, for 30 years in my case, and for many years in your case as well. But importantly, yes, it is not going to be rough. And also the water looks smoothly flowing, but it is always bumping into some rocks, some broken trees, some branches, and lot of things. And it may look smooth on the outside, but it is constantly having a rough flow, touching the banks of knowledge here and there, evolving itself, making it better, but keep flowing. No returning back on the decisions you make, on the choices you make in life. How is Genia managing her personal, professional, and passion, and how she really mastered it? Because many women, first of all, water education is not there, but then many women are really trapped into that idea of discipline, and they think that they are not into water sector, they cannot do water sector because it is engineering, it is patriarchal. And it is a good time also to put the facts here. 1 in 5 water professional is only women, so it is still less than 20% globally, and less than 10% in India. 1 in 10 is women in water, is actually very low, even in the global average, in case of women in water. Given that situation, we are human beings, we have our passion, we have our profession, and importantly, prioritize our personal life. What is the mantra that Genia cracked that she enjoys all the time? It's not that we are jealous, but we want to learn from
No.
her.
No. Yes, thank you. Thanks very much for this question, Mansi. But I would, like the disclaimer is that I think none of us can ever have any mastery on anything. That's
No,
not, that's
but
not possible.
you crack your own style, to
So
manage everything.
I these days I say that, even to my seniors, to my juniors, to my friends, to everyone, that we have to keep navigating. So
Yes.
I have started believing in this method or methodology of navigating, rather than
Yes.
anything else. And water is also the best analogy to
Yes.
make us understand that how navigation can really make a lot of sense, because you can navigate through rugged terrains, you can navigate through like murky waters, you can navigate through all the different kinds of how do I say, the travel trajectories which are not always smooth, because we have to assume that nothing no journey could be linear ever. So I
Yes.
would like to say that like there have been a lot of have been, or there always are moments of low. It's not that because because I'm also very vocal, I'm extrovert, so I also have my own personal traits and characteristics, which are
Yes.
always not easy, because like I would say everything upfront, and so that
Take
makes
positions also. Yes.
yes, so that also makes things sometimes a bit trickier, but then most of the times I don't regret about that, because like I believe in open argumentation, and I believe in because if I am speaking from my convictions, then I think I can be vocal, and people will realize after
Absolutely.
certain point of time, or I may be wrong, and I will realize after a certain point of time. But I must mention few women, because they are my inspirations, which also definitely include
Absolutely.
you.
Good that you
Yes,
already mentioned it. Yes.
no, definitely, and
Please
it
go
also,
ahead.
yes, it include you. It include like Harini Nagendra. Harini does not specifically work on water, but I really like again Amrita is there, and both of us are huge admirers of Harini, the way she manages her professional and personal life. But in this case, I would also like to focus more on like two, three people whom I know personally. I've been very fortunate to know personally, and they are like stalwarts in the field of water. So one is a very dear friend of mine, but she's the senior executive person in Ramsar now for the European, like the European community. And she's a French woman, and her name is like Claude Lafayette Michu, and she is the one who actually dragged me to the hydrosocial, like hydrosocial scholarship, because she was doing her PhD. She's such a bold woman who was already, a bureaucrat, because she was a civil engineer by training, and she realized after a point of time that civil engineering was not sufficient for her to really design water policies for the French government, because she was working from Paris that time. So she decided to leave her job and start her PhD afresh in the Department of Geography and Sustainability at the University of Lausanne in Switzerland. And because she got excited and inspired with Jamie Linton and Jessica Bird's hydrosocial cycle framework. So then, I got a chance to, like she did her PhD, and I was her friend. I was supporting her PhD because she was focusing on the lower Ganga basin. And this is how we started developing, or started adding another S to the HS cycle, and this S is sediment. So this is how hydro social cycle became hydro sediment social cycle. So this is like without my friendship with Flo, this would have never had happened. The other person is Margaret Swartfield. So I owe a lot to her, because she is the one, again, along with Shivapal and Murugesu. She brought me to this field of, she exposed me to the field of socio-hydrology. I got a chance to work with her closely between 2021 up till now. We are still working together, and because we have this socio-hydrology group, and I have seen her work, and the way she's extremely passionate about everything. And again, she was also an engineer by training. So all these women, very interestingly, Sarah Pale or Margaret Zwartwin, Flor Lafayette Michaud, they're all engineers by training. But then they realize the importance of social sciences framework, and the way they do social sciences framework. Sometimes this is even better and more effective than the way we do it. So that also gives me a lot of hope, that always there is a tussle, there are debates between natural sciences, engineering, and social sciences. But uh, from them I've really learned that how interdisciplinarity unfolds. And I have to talk about these recent times. when we started working in the Sundarbans, like our practical action oriented project in the Sundarban, which is giving us an opportunity to work very, very closely and collectively with the women of Sundarbans, you will be
Yes.
completely surprised to know, from their personal stories or personal realities, lived realities. And the kind of resilience, so resilience is not a buzzword for them, but it is an
Mhm.
everyday survival strategy, or it is something that is embodied. So so I think, like, it's a very interesting spectrum from Margaret
Mhm.
Swartwin to Ujjaladi from the remote island village of Kumirmari, that I keep drawing my inspiration. And at different points of my of how do I say, like, when I don't do well, when life is not at all hopeful, when there's a lot of despair, I draw inspiration from them, and there is a clear cut message that I cannot withdraw. I have to keep flowing, floating. I don't know
Keep
how to
flowing.
swim, but yes, I have to flow. There is no other option, because so once you are there, so once you start this journey, you cannot. There is no back here, and yeah, and we have to keep navigating. So that's how I think I managed to navigate. Always, there are. I mean, it's not that always there are successes, and again, success is so relative. There is a very complex
Yes.
ontology around success, but yes, but I would tell you that like, this is very, very inspiring. I mean, the women whom I know, like natural scientists, engineers turned social scientists, and the women who are fishers, who are farmers, who are managing their households, who are managing their ponds. And I can keep on telling stories to you about how lot of our experiments, where we were not even gender inclusive that much, but how gender itself kind of emerge from that template, because all those women were there. So, and they showed us they showed us the way through which we actually should be sensitive about gender while we are working in coastal ecologies like the Sundarbans. So it's amazing. So I think, like, there are so many women in my life who work on water, around water, and who work deeply inside water. So there are so many women, and there are different types of relationship with water. And I have no other option, but all these lessons and learnings and experiences have been thrust on me. And my opportunity in life is to keep growing and navigating through these stories and through all these different things that are happening around me.
Oh, interesting. And you remind me of Thakurji or Tagore and also Rumi at this point in time, where Thakurji says, no point staring at the sea. You have to take a step further, and
Yeah.
then the ocean is yours. And Rumi, keep flowing. And it is, of course, initially you feel scared for a stream to go and merge with the river, or a river to merge with the ocean, unless and until the river realizes that the river is going to become the ocean. You become part of the ocean and part of the water community itself. And that brings me to the next round of questions to you
Yes.
on women leadership in the water sector, sorry. So when we look at women leadership scholarship as well, we find that actually there are a lot of studies on rural women taking charge of community water management, as you rightly mentioned, also in the Sundarbans. The fact we are doing this conversation and you are my 88th session guest, or my 88th fish of this session, we also realize that there is definitely a dearth of women leadership in the water sector. And of course, leadership is pyramidal. But I'm sure because you are in the water sector and you are, transcending disciplines and looking at it as a domain, you may have come across the situation where the gender or woman becomes a minority. I usually don't use the word gender because I'm focusing the study on women for rest of the people to know this is a research which is ongoing. And you may look at all our 87 sessions online, free access, open, available to all of you, and listen to these wonderful women talking about not only themselves, but about the sector, about women in general as well. I already told you these numbers, which may not sound much, but there are two clear segments where we work on women in the water sector. One is, of course, the underprivileged women, where a lot of focus is there. And we get into that Abla Nari syndrome, and there's a lot of empowerment happening. And the other sector, which is completely blinded, which is water professionals. And that is where our research and discussion and series has been highly appreciated up to the level of CV in the World Water Week, that at least we are focusing on water professionals or women who have trained themselves to be leaders, and yet we find difficulty. What do you think, Jenia, that we are equally competent as women? We have the know-hows and the don'ts, or do's and the don'ts of water sector. What is there that still leadership in the women's and water sector, especially you can look at leadership from organizational point of view, from community, from association, council, you name it, any mass of water community, the highest position still remains with the men,
Yes.
majority. What do you think, where do we miss the point of becoming real leaders? Of course, I can consider you as leader by all merits, but when we are talking about society in general and in mass and organization, what is it that women are missing or the society is missing to accept women in the leadership role? I'm just giving one example from politics. It is not the only location where we have to look at water sector, but so far since independence in India, we have had only one woman minister from water sector, in the water sector. But politics is one side, but it is also a reflection of the entire uh, discipline, domain, whatever you can talk about. What do you think? Where are we going wrong in the overall setup of patriarchy, which is also a serious problem when we talk about water and gender, by the way?
Yeah. Mm. I am not sure. I have never thought about this that much, unfortunately. But now, when you were asking this question, I was already having my thoughts. First of all, I'm trying to, gauge the situation. And I think like you are right. And even at IITs and NITs, if you see, even School of Water Resources and water centers, unfortunately they're extremely, the male female ratio in terms of the faculty members or
That's ratio
students,
and then top.
very skewed. Yes, and then top. So I don't know what is the reason behind this, but maybe two three things. So one, I mean, there are some examples, there are some like, because as I again mentioned that I'm an admirer of, for example, Sarah Ahmed, because
Mhm.
Sarah and her Living Water Museum, it is such a very interesting and exciting story of how somebody's passion can really lead the world in terms of decolonizing museum making, and kind of founding a like virtual water museum which connects women, which connects water, which connects all the different kinds of traditional situated adaptive practices from different parts of the world, both urban, rural, and also peri-urban, for example. But maybe I don't know, maybe the answers lie in non-acceptance, arrogance, hierarchy, and also like, because the way we do water research, and when we are thinking about water professions, it is about either lab-based investigations, which are purely lab-based, and then there are practical implementations or applications where the lab tested materials or products or prototypes, they are then tested in the ground, and there is full scale dissemination. And then there are market linkages and entrepreneurship innovation that go into this. So if I am trying to think about, like, because the major discussions or the organizations or institutes that you see, these are all trying to address water challenges. So I think now, I'm thinking right now, I have not thought about it before, but now I'm thinking it again, the ontology of water, that to a great extent determine this exclusion. So the answer again lies in the beyond, we are unfortunately we're not able to understand water. uh, we are not being able to unravel water so far as her like pluriversal possibilities are concerned. So I'm borrowing from Arturo Escobar and Ashish Kothari
Mm.
and their pluriversal possibility framework, because the whole idea is that okay, these canals are polluted, these rivers are polluted, so we need to come up with solutions to
Mm.
kind of make these water bodies all right. Okay, and then technologies come with they are they are, of course, sometimes they are capital laden technocratic infrastructures or many other that everybody knows here. Okay, and that world is such a male world. So all the lab based investigations, and where men typically try to rectify the problem by taming water, by manipulating water, by because water is understood as an object which
Yes.
can be tamed, which can be manipulated, which can be commodified, which can be, and all these other things could be done with her, because the agency of water is not understood, felt, realized, and internalized.
It's again
And
within the
I,
H2O, the
yes,
box of H2O.
exactly. So I think women are the ones who, I mean, again, I don't want to generalize things. I'm sure that there are many men who who would believe what we are discussing right now, and there would be definitely women who also don't understand water beyond a reductionist lens. So I'm not generalizing this, but I think
Majority.
this binary is there a bit,
Yeah,
because I have,
majority.
yes, majority, and I have seen Sarah closely working with many water professionals, and it is so difficult to make them understand what we are talking about. And in
Yes.
field work, for example, because again, these lab based investigations and all the solution kits and the solution packages that are designed, uh, men are not ready to understand that they can go wrong, and there cannot be same size fits all kind of solutions across all the
Yes.
different
The
water
whole
types around the
panacea
world.
problem.
Yes,
Yes.
because if you don't standardize, then their technological innovation, they are not ready to appreciate their innovation as place based. So I think this is one of the reasons that because we male world, they have a big faith on technology, and technology, of course, believes a lot in like investigations, lab based experimentation, and all the other kinds of practices or solution centric strategies, unfortunately, are understood as non exact sciences. So I think it has a legacy from the time of the Renaissance and the Renaissance man, because I'm also a student of history. So I know like how the Renaissance period and modern man, that not only kind of isolated women from many things, but this is one of the reasons that there is a long legacy behind this. Even in India, for example, if you see that the hydrology domain or the hydrology sector, with the colonial hydrology framework, where the women were nowhere,
It's
and
not there.
it is such a long legacy that has continued since then.
Yeah, I think it is also coming from the societal structure, not only in India, but across. The patriarchy has been there for a long, long time. It is just that we are discussing water here. But I'm sure if we were, because I am running a parallel research on women in architecture, and let me tell you, it is reflected very much there also. It is so masculine. And
Yes,
probably we are actually discussing more of beyond women and water is also the approach to water management, more masculine or feministic or more
yes,
ecological based, technological based. Although I'm keeping that discussion outside because I'm really so focused on being woman in the water sector. And importantly, the commodification of water is masculine, and very much the way the commodification of women has been ever since history, since antiquity.
yes,
And I mean, I'm also a strong believer that Neer or Nari or woman and water is also deciding the state of affairs of any developed or not developed society. And that is where it is extremely important to have this conversation. Although many people
yes,
have suggested me, why don't you start a discussion on men in water? I'm saying, yes, I must do that, but let me just finish this research. We are going to stop at 100, by the way, 100 sessions, and then start churning what we are finding out. We are already presenting the works of many of you people, and this platform is actually to acknowledge and appreciate what women have been doing and thinking, because much of the water problem solutions lie in water management as people management, and that is something beyond H2O we have to understand as a society collectively. And probably it will come from women only, because we are still dominated by water solutions from technological point of view. But this discussion is more about Jenia and about her way of looking at things around water. So we'll come back there and stick to the leadership skills and try to find out from Genia. Given this situation, living in patriarchy, this and there, this is there, you already mentioned about it. Are there some extra skill sets that women can train themselves, learn themselves, having already been professional, so that they can also climb the ladder of leadership? And I want to just do a small disclaimer here, because leadership is a gender blinded or genderless, or it should not have any gender code situation there. Still, we see a culture or a trend in the society that we have more acceptance for male leaders. We are more ready to take orders from men than we have more acceptance for women leaders, are ready to take orders from women leaders. And just to bring to highlight here, because you are from IIT, after so many years, last year we have our first woman IIT director. And that too, I mean, I should not say this, but that too, that director is placed outside India. And this is something which we discussed as women activists around in Ahmedabad. We had this small meeting and all. And these are certain things which we have to understand. The tokenism, the real change we want to bring. So what are the things that we would like to really bring a change in the women? Can they train themselves some leadership skills? Because some things can be trained, but some things are inherently leadership qualities are there in a person. What do you think? What are the inherent leadership qualities? And when we are talking about this point, it is also important for me to clarify here. By no means I really mean, or this research really means that bringing women leadership is going to change the face of the water problems. But it is just to have an alternate view and perspective of leadership. What's your take on what are the skill sets which women can really train or learn or can identify within themselves, so that they can be nurtured by organizations, institutional councils, or mentors like you? I know you are mentoring many of them. What is it that you consider as a true leader should have? Any leader for that matter, without
Yes.
gender issue.
Yes. No, I think like women already they are, I mean, again, I cannot generalize, but I think there are few things due to which women are excelling in several sectors. And women are extremely hard. I mean, I think sincerity, hard work, care, and empathy. These are qualities that shape women to a great extent. And when I say empathy, I don't mean to say that men, they don't have empathy, but
Yeah,
I
but
think
we are
we have
talking
far
women
more.
this today.
No, exactly. So I think we have far more patience. We have lot of patience with things. So even if
So
you see when like women are doing ethnographies, they will just sit with men, women, everyone from a village or in the peri-urban outskirts, wherever, and they will have the the patience and the time to listen to the stories, to dive deep into many things that will unfold before them, while men are more focused and motivated to just go there, complete their tool and then come back and analyze, because men also they have good analytical skills, which is also an outcome of legacy, something. So but then here I think that like two three one thing where I think we also lag behind are our collective efforts, because we sometimes we don't get the chance to socialize so much, because one needs to understand that men, even after their classes or after their lab work, they still have that. They go at IIT, you can see that there are groups of male professors who will sit in the like chai stalls,
or
and
go for
the
playing
places,
badminton.
yes. And there are adda sessions, and I see and I feel very good to see them, because they're always together, and for so many years I'm seeing them. But they will sit and have a drink tea, and they will chat and discuss, maybe also discuss a lot of productive things outside their lab ambit or whatever. But I have not really seen so many women groups, or I don't see groups of women who will sit, because in the evening we have other roles to play in our households. And this is a reality. One has to accept this. Very unfortunately, when we are not seen in the department, it is said that they're not doing justice in their office. But then in the evening, if I miss taking my son to the tuition, for example, I mean, not any charges, no charges to anyone, but then I get to hear that you are working a lot, you are not paying attention to your child. So how will you again navigate through this? So there are social stigmas, I have to say this again, because it is expected.
Within the social stigma, I am
And
just trying to reinterpret your
yes,
points as whatever points you said. I'm already considering them as a good leadership skills, having empathy, having this navigating behavior. Yes, or
yes,
attitude for,
absolutely,
sorry, not
absolutely.
behavior.
But the challenge that I see is that we don't have time to socialize. We are not given
Mm.
the chance to socialize because it
Mm.
is. I mean, there are compartmentalizations that we
Mm.
have to take classes, we have to do our work. Okay, some supervision to students in our from our office in the department. That's it. But we don't have, because if I manage to kind of have some time, and I convince my husband and my family that okay, you take care of yourself in this particular evening every week, I will sit with some women faculty members or my scholar. So I have that license. But I am 100 more than 100% sure, because I know this personally, other women, they don't have it, and they
Have.
themselves will feel bad because if my child is alone, I have to go and take
That's
care
the
of my
guilt of
child.
guilt. Yeah.
That's the guilt of a
Carrying
mother.
the burden of the superwoman syndrome.
Exactly. Now, so the males, they have this advantage because lot of discussions, I'm sure, in the chai shop, they get materialized into nice projects, and we don't have the opportunity of doing that, because lot of good ideas, as you know, they always they open up in open spaces. So
Yeah,
we really
absolutely.
don't have the time to do that. So that is one of the major challenges and impact that I see here. So you can imagine, if at IIT we have this problem, then in other institutes or other workspaces, the kind of problem that women face. So when you were asking me this question, like what do you think are the challenges or impediments, I was about to tell you, because we fail to work in groups. But then I kind of reframed it, because I understand that why do we fail, because we don't have those opportunities inbuilt within our social structure as males have
Mm.
them with them. So
That's a
yeah.
part of patriarchy also. And you also remind me of something very interesting for this conversation. Now I'm forgetting actually whether you are conducting my interview or I'm conducting your interview, because you are leading me to the next question already, to the next section of the conversation. Very interesting. So women, the collective of women is extremely important and we miss it. And you remind me of something we used to say in Cambridge there, that all major decisions are taken on the coffee table or bar table and not in the classrooms or offices.
Yes.
And we miss that. Having said that, and now I think all our participants, and you will also realize why we are having this conversation today, is also the fact that when I started the session, this is Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Water Resource Council, there where we have more than 100 women already part of that little group. We may not be meeting physically every day or a week or every month, but there is a mass, there is a collective of professional women who can handhold each other, a sisterhood, who can talk to each other. We also form these councils and association, as you were talking about, hydro sediment social group and other things like that.
Mm.
Could you enlighten us about the role of these councils, associations, communities? You already mentioned the gap which women face, but I'm sure you have also benefited from the being part of these communities, part of these councils. I'm also at this moment, I would like to invite you to be part of the council, which I have been telling you for more than a year now. Please come, Jenia. We need a person like you who can push a lot of people. But still, from your experience, you are still not part of the Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry Water Resource Council, where we do a lot of shouting, where we do a lot of hand holding. Whenever we see manels, we are telling them that why manels? We have a bunch of women professionals who can speak on the same topic with same qualification. It's not that It has to be all men, but importantly, if women have to be part of those kind of policy setups or groups, some men have to go if women have to be accommodated. That is the hardest part in these patriarchal setup. But still, in those kind of councils, associations, communities, societies, it has different names and different frames. What do you think? How can women professionals benefit from this, cluster, from this mass? And how have you benefited? If you can enlighten so that people know about it, and also people get motivated to join the Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry, especially Water Resource Council. If you have water in your life, please join the council. I am taking all the nominations all the time, but it has been extremely difficult to convince women to be part of this group. On one hand, we are seeing the difference, how men benefit from being in the collective. On the other hand, here is an opportunity to be part of the collective. But there is something very tricky I would add here before I invite you to respond to it, that women are also constantly in that dilemma, what is there for me? Because they're already short of time and they have to navigate in life. So what kind of benefits do you think you can seek from council? And because you are already in a mentor role, what kind of things you can offer to similar councils like us, like Water Resource Council? Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Mansi, for asking this question. I think I am not part of the this Indian Chamber of Commerce Council yet, Water Council yet. I would love to do that, but again, like this is only due to time, and because I also don't believe in like piecemeal service. Because I believe in like if the things in which I am involved, I have to like really deeply and closely work there. So I don't believe in my involvement in something. I'm just I have the name and I have a membership, but then I'm not working. So I don't like that. So that's the reason why.
But then you don't help us make the mass. We can at least exploit your name that Jenia
But
is
the
there.
best thing about the council is that
I'm just
every
joking. Please
year when
continue.
so every year when the water day is like it is like kind of celebrated. I think there are a whole lot of, I mean, there are like number of panelists who I see are women. So I think it's really playing a big role in not only kind of including women members within its ambit, but also kind of coming up with the provisions and the whole regulatory framework. I think to a great extent now is being shaped by the women and women professionals and the women leaders. So I am part of two very interesting associations. So one is AAEH, which is the Association for Asian Environmental History. So it started its journey like 3 years back, and this year, like this month actually, from 26th September to 2nd of October, the first biennial conference will be taking place in Japan, in Kagawa. And there are 5 members. Out of these 5 members, there are 2 women members and 3 male members. But like they're elderly people, and they have lot of love and care for the 2 I mean, not so old women like me and another historian from China. But I think it has been a wonderful opportunity to work with them. So and because I mean, the suggestions that we came up with, and different, the different sessions even that we talked about, were incorporated, because they were not automatically designed, but after a lot of exchange. So this is what happens when that representation is there. And they have been quite, I think they have been prudent and wise enough to understand this. And this is giving a lot of strength from the very beginning to this Asian Association of Environmental History, which was not the case for ASEH, American Society for Environmental History, or even ESEH. For them, this gender inclusion, women inclusion took place much later. But it's such a good news that, for this AAEH, gender representation and being empathetic to, all these issues, it's there from the very beginning. So that's a good news, which I want to share. Another very important, I think, experience of mine has been my involvement in IAHS, which is the International Association of Hydrological Sciences. So this is also like all male members, because they are mainly, it is like kind of predominantly driven and led by the hydrologists. So all the modelers and the civil engineers and geology, all these so I mean people who also lead AGU and EGU, like American Geological Union, and like EGU as well, European one. But for the last, I think, 10-12 years, there's a big change. So this was there from this was the decade which was known as the Pantarai decade. And so Pantarai means everything flows. So then there was a big decision that they wanted to work with the social scientists. So this is how, because the father of sociohydrology is Sivapalan Murugesu, wonderful man, and always, he is having new realizations, all the time, and then he's working on them. It's not that he's just having realizations and writing papers. No, they are executing these plans. So which is very, very fruitful. And this is how, the several, I think more than 300 social scientists have joined the group. And again, also very unfortunately, our disciplinary, if you see the disciplines, social sciences again is predominantly driven by women. So the women water scientists activists, artivists also, women artists, they are now part of this larger IAHS group. And if you see the kind of work that was happening in the previous decades, and if you see what is happening from 2012 or so, I think I would like to call this decade a revolutionary, radical decade for IAHS. So I think we have benefited from this. IAHS have benefited from this. The whole world is benefiting out of this. And a book, it's called Coupled Human Water Systems. So Human Water Systems, that's the name of the book. It's coming out. It will come out this year. And you see, like all these discussions and have been compiled together. There are, I think, like 16 chapters on different issues around water, like floods and droughts and transboundary, like issues and all. And where you see that how women and men, they have collaborated together, hydrologists and hydrosocial thinkers have come together and, kind of really designed, packaged, and, they're now publishing all their reflection and perspectives on one particular theme, but multiple perspectives, again a kind of conversing, but also, how do I say, it's not a like it's kind, I mean, all these are wicked problems. So you see that how all the different the discussion threads are entangled with each other. So this is a big change. So I think I am very hopeful because these big changes are taking place.
Absolutely. I am also very hopeful that this decade actually revolutionizes the role of women in the water sector, as we benefited also making this Water Resource Council. The very first year in the World Water Week, Syria acknowledged our effort and they invited us to join, and with almost everything just to promote and support that this is a good initiative, because they had already worked initially with the Government of India and UNDP to produce a compendium of rural women, and they found our work of water women professionals as something unique, which has never been compiled. We have all the biographies of all the women who have spoken on there on our Monday Munching and Musing session. But apart from that, we have a elaborate list of biography and profiles of all the women who have joined us in the council. Not all our participants of Monday have joined the council, and not all council members have joined this conversation, because some women are still taking time to engage in this conversation. Although I find this conversation quite easy and flowing, but there are skepticism again, because women have to really think what is there in this conversation. Is it really worth it? And that is also something, one of my understanding from the research, that women really find it, whether I should spend time on this, or will it really impact my life or others' life. That brings me to the end of the last section, and a very simple question for you, opening it to all of the younger generation, your message. But before that, I think it's a good time. You have quite a number of participants here. If you have any quick question and comment for Jenia or even for me, this is a good time to invite all the participants. Thank you so much for patiently listening to us. And If you want to engage, this is your time. Meanwhile, Jenia, you can also start thinking if you have any question for me. This is also your time to ask me a question if there is any question about. So I will wait for a second to look at all the participants around and see if they have digital hand. If you are going to speak, you may please unmute yourself, but please open your video so that you are captured in the video. And we don't want to see the dark background in the YouTube. Any questions for Genia? This is a time to ask, and we have Ankush already unmuted and video on. Ankush, over to you.
Thank you so much for the nice session. Ma'am, I was having just a quick question for you, as you just mentioned your initial journey. So I was just about to ask that in this journey, are there any surprising element that you were not even expecting before starting this journey regarding canals and Adi Ganga? Are there any surprising elements that just surprised you about the interaction that was happening between water and specifically women?
Yes, yes. I think there have been so many surprises. It's not one surprise. There are so many surprises throughout, the journey, and the journey is still on, I must say. So one very quick one, if from the biophysical perspective, I think like, this discovery of the East Kolkata wetlands, for me, this East Kolkata wetlands was there. It was already, kind of pointed out, like by Dhrubajyoti Ghosh, very completely, he drew the global attention to these wetlands, West Pattern wetlands on the periphery of Kolkata. But, I was exposed to East Kolkata wetlands through these canals. The canal system led me there. And honestly speaking, like if I really think about that journey, I see how the canals really, they were the agents. Because when I was trying to trying to understand, trying to map, and trying to kind of investigate the wastewater flows, and like because I was also trying to understand the history, because Kolkata's canal system has a fascinating history of playing the dual role of trade transportation on one hand and sewerage, drainage and sanitation on the other. So then when I started, kind of investigating this history, I saw that the history of the canal system of Kolkata is incomplete, totally incomplete, without the history of Kolkata's wetland system. So it's a complex composite whole. So, and today, like, where the center where you are in TU Berlin. So my work with them is actually on the wetlands. So I discovered wetlands through the canals, and I never expected this when I started this journey. There are many other social elements of awe and, like, of anxieties also, but, of awe and apprehensions and surprises, many beautiful things. Which because I my message also, like, because we are coming to the end of this session now, so my message to like to everyone is that I think that there are so many, always there are different elements of surprises. Let the research trajectory unfold itself. Let us not kind of let us not design our research trajectory in a rigid way, because when then there are elements of surprises, then we are not if we miss the chance of kind of responding to those elements, then I think the research journey remains very incomplete. So the research will lead you. The researcher just needs to how do I say, needs to be humble enough, or needs to be wise enough to make the research work as an agent and a guardian, to hold the researcher's hand and make him or her go through or navigate this trail. So that is my message, because I have been extremely benefited from this, because let the research have the agency and not the researcher.
Wonderful. And yeah, Ankush, you also tempt me to respond to you on this from what Genia just responded, because the mention of Nali is now the Nala, Adi Ganga, the mention of Nadis in Ved and the nervous system that we have. That really makes the whole ecosystem work. But something what Genia mentioned is also, I bring it from Taoism, just flow like water. And I think that's what research is about, because we cannot design life completely, but at the same time we have to have longer and bigger goals, just like the way in research. That brings me to the very last question, which is the purpose of this conversation. Also, your message to the younger generation on simple behavioral change to engender the water sector. What are the small things men, women, other gender can really do to ensure that in future, I would really like to live a day in my life when we don't have to talk about women in water, men in water, or gender in water, and it is water, humans, other beings, and there is problem, let us solve it. What will be behavioral change that you think your peer group, your younger generation can practice in everyday life to end
Yeah.
gender?
Yes. So I think empathetic listening and acknowledgement from the core of the heart. So these I think they have helped me a lot. There are few people in whom all these good attributes are are kind of it's there by default. So they have an inbuilt system. I have seen people, I have seen colleagues. Very interestingly, there are colleagues who don't work in my domain, who don't work in the water domain, but I can tell you that they are much better, much more effective field workers, ethnographers, than people who are trained in hardcore ethnography, because these qualities are there with them. So when people, so for example, when we are asking questions, okay, and then people are responding, but always they are not on track. Now what do we mean by that? Even because they're just they're kind of, there are flowing conversations. So and it is not right to kind of curtail that conversation. If for example we don't have the time, if we are short of time, there could be other ways and strategies through which we
Yes.
can do justice to this. But just curtailing a conversation where the person or the group from whom you are trying to understand the situation, it is not good. I think it's arrogance. So it really, because when there is no empathetic listening, there's a lot of disconnection. Okay, there is, I don't think there is a need to read, I am making a very like how do I don't know how it will be taken, but I myself, I can share my experience that I really have not gone through big fat books on how to do field work. It's not needed that much, because how to build rapport with community, and there are 5 rules on that. It doesn't work like that. Okay, so I think that an empathetic listening, so people with whom you are working, the people whom you are interviewing, and all the other groups with whom you are kind of contacting during your research phase, I think they, when they open up, because they don't open up so easily, but when they open up, it is not right to curtail the flow their flows in that sense. So the listening has to be empathetic. And if we are listening to what they're saying and only trying to do justice to our own research topic, that we are actually not doing justice to it. So because again, all of us as researchers or as activists or as anyone else working in the water sector or in any other sector for that matter, it is very important that how we get shaped. What are the circumstances, what are the events, who are the people, what are the ecosystems that keep shaping us? So I think we should be very how do I say, be careful to this. Lot of opportunities are always there around, so it's very important to tap on those opportunities. So empathetic listening, it's a big thing. It's very important to spend time to understand what is listening, because we are all of us are very good orators, all of us are like we can
We
keep
all want to
speaking and
speak.
speaking, yeah, but then we don't have the tenacity and patience to listen. And when I'm saying listening, I'm not saying listening, I'm saying empathetic listening. So empathy is
Yes.
something which is much more. And trust just happens, it's trust building, the bonding, it's beyond trust building, it's the bonding that happens lifelong. So the community does not expect that you will do something, something tangible for them. You don't expect that the communities will, they are your knowledge offerers or providers. But it's another kind of it's a solidarity or bonding at a different level. And that bonding will go on. If you finish your PhD, after your project is over, that does not matter. That bonding needs to be there, because we are discussing common issues that they are facing or encountering, and we are interested about. So empathic listening, I think, is a big thing. And the other thing is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement. Because, we don't acknowledge. We have forgotten to acknowledge, anyone, our students, our colleagues, our friends, our staff, all, so many people. We are only interested in big
Starts with
things.
acknowledging mothers, huh?
Everyone, I have to say everyone, because we I mean, it's very tricky, and also always we are very interested to kind of in big things, big things. So even in water sector, we are interested with big models, big theories, big paradigms, and those kind of things. But it should not be like that, because acknowledgements, we need to see the small things, the so many different attributes, so many different elements that kind of shape, configure, make and remake water, and the relationship between water and not human, but more than human beings. So I think acknowledgement is, because if we acknowledge, the perspective expands like anything. And when there is this expansion of horizon, like we don't feel ourselves. It's very interesting, it's an interesting contradiction. We start finding us to be bigger. So by this I mean that we start finding out the meaning of our life, the purpose of our life. So we start feeling smaller when the purpose of life, the meaning of our life is not there. It's lost. So maybe I'm publishing, like, for example, 1,000 articles, and I have 50,000 citations, Google Scholar. But then I'm still not happy, because I'm not happy because my purpose or meaning of life is lost or are lost. So the purpose and meaning of life, every time, like we can have like newer perspectives, newer meanings, newer purposes, once we feel that we are part of this whole that exists. We don't feel left alone, we don't feel abandoned. So let us not because most of the times, unfortunately, in researchers life, I think we create the situation through which abandonment happen. And abandonment is a result or outcome of us not acknowledging, beautiful small things, without which our journey would have never taken this route. But often when we keep, keep stepping up the ladder, we forget people who were so important, ecosystems which were so important, in when we initiated our journey. So everyone, non-human elements, everything, even the air, of course, the air that we breathe. Just think about the air that we breathe. So we should be very conscious about, like, all the different things that play such a huge role in helping us even breathe, the reason why we are there. So with this, I think with empathetic listening and with acknowledgement, I mean, life could be life changing.
Absolutely. And that also gives me an opportunity to tell everyone, or also go on record, that we have been listening in Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water for 89 sessions now. On 22nd of September, we have Dr. Gopa Samantha, again coming from Bengal, speaking her heart out here. As we have had happened, that most of the time women are really not having time to give us, and then when there is time, they really open up us and flow with us. Then the second part, which you definitely mentioned, and if you recall in the beginning, I mentioned through Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water, and also through Wiki Water Resource Council, we are trying to acknowledge and appreciate the contribution women are doing in the water sector. So I'm just tick marking what Jenia is telling to us, and I feel a little bit more motivated to continue and bring the research to 100 mark, where we can start publishing the work. And the last but not the least, what you mentioned about doing big things and forgetting the nuances of small things, you remind me of Rumi. You may be the drop in the ocean, but in each drop, you are an ocean by yourself. So
Yes.
there is immense opportunity even in doing small things and bring a change. Thank you so much, Jenia, for this enlightening interaction.
Thank you very much.
I really felt the conversation flowing like water and thus enjoyed. And it is so good to have a friend across on the other side to talk about it. Makes it much more easier to have this conversation. It has not been easy for me to run this show, but we are close to 400 sessions with Monday, Friday, and Wednesday, making us the longest water conversation ever taken place in the world. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I know you had also a lot of doubts about what's going to happen, but do watch our other conversations. And I hope you enjoyed. I'm just assuming, but we will talk outside. May you remain an inspiration to all of us. And we are so grateful to have learned an ounce about you, about your water endeavors, but importantly, the way you think. We would like to embrace those things. We will continue our water activities, as I mentioned, for September 22nd. But this is also a good time to announce that on September 26th and 27th at Ahmedabad University W4W Foundation, which is also the sister or the parent organization, which is right now running Wiki Water Resource Council as long as I remain the president, which is coming to an end by the end of this year. We are looking for a new president at the Water Resource Council. We are organizing Water Festival on 26th and 27th. If you are keen about it, do look at our website and register for it. And we'll see how we can accommodate you as part of the fest to do some things. But of course, you can always join as participant. Do stay tuned for more about more women and their water endeavors, and do follow our social media platforms for regular updates. Thanks once again, Jenia, and thank you so much all the participants for coming. It's extremely motivating for us to do this because sometimes we also get in doubt. What are we doing and why are we doing this? But thanks a lot. Take care.
What you are doing is absolutely fantastic, and I know you, so I don't have any doubt that this will continue.
Thanks a lot. Please take care, and we touch each other outside this session. Bye-bye, all of you.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks a lot, all of you.